Ubisoft sent me this official Assassin's Creed Shadows lockbox, which has clues inside it that will identify assassination targets and tell a story that we will experience in-game when we get our hands on it, and where the main protagonists, Naoe and Yasuke, will be killing in an official gameplay preview at Ubisoft Forward on June the 10th. In fact, this box is one of two parts to this kind of mystery Assassin's Creed Cluedo event, which took place on their official Discord recently across 2 days, where on day one, the community needed to chat to AI bots and figure out all of the answers to very challenging clues and puzzles, which would then help content creators like myself open this box and try and solve more riddles and puzzles inside it, which would then give us the name of our targets, their location, and what assassin weapon that we will use or need to use to assassinate them with. And I honestly think that this is one of the best experiences that I have personally had in the run-up to a game's release. So I am going to walk you through this 2-day story puzzle with all of the answers and rewards for finishing it for you in this video, so you don't miss out and you can get fully up to speed on this community event before the gameplay showcase in a couple days time. Now, to start this event, you had to join their official Discord server, where you would then be greeted by Komatsu, who is the master shinobi AI bot that is our main guide through this event. He informs us that we need to help locate and assassinate a corrupted samurai and daimyo that have gone into hiding in Japan. Now, to do this, we need to answer his riddles and figure out clues so we can find out their names, their locations, and what weapons would be best to kill them as assassins ourselves. So that's our quest, and he gives us our first riddle from one of his spies to start. And we want to focus here on this second line, which says enemies affected by vengeance, followed by the numbers 137 and the words before the noto, which means sheathing a katana in Japanese. So this clue is referencing the recent CGI trailer, where at 1 minute 37 seconds we can see Yasuke unsheathing his katana and killing 7 enemies in vengeance, which we will note down. Now, our second set of words on the paper says shurikens fired at night, which we see Naoe throw 3 of them at an enemy further on in the same trailer, so we'll also remember that number as well. And next up we have Hansons in the port. Hansons, of course, being the word for Japanese ships, which we see 3 of, again, in the trailer as well, so let's note that one down. Now, we also get a X or multiply sign on this piece of paper and the words blows with the kanobo, which we see Yasuke perform 5 times with that same weapon, again in the trailer, as you can see here. So if I go ahead and put those number counts next to each other, or next to each section, and then highlight the minus and multiply icons between each phrase, we get the numbers 7 minus 3, which equals 4, of course, and 3 times 5, or multiply by 5, which equals 15. Now, after some head scratching in the Discord community chat, the community highlighted the 4th and 15th letters in the alphabet, which ends up being D for Delta and O for Oscar, as you can see here. Now, Zebra in that Discord was the first to figure this out and submit it to Komatsu, so top work there, as that was the right answer. But it doesn't stop there, because Komatsu tells us that D and O could be the name of a place or person. So after scrolling up through the AI bot list, we do come across someone who does have the D and O initials, that being Daijui Otto. But the thing is, if you try to introduce yourself to her in her DMs, she will just ignore you. So we need to go back to the paper clue that we were just looking at and focus on the bottom part of it, where it says the first letter plus 5, the second letter minus 2, and the first letter again, but minus 3. So we are on the right track with the whole alphabet stuff. So let's kind of go back there and then add 5 to the first letter, which is D, and that ends up being I for India in the alphabet. And let's do the same for the second letter, which is minus 2 from O, and that turns out to be M for Mike. And for our third phrase, it says the first letter, again, minus 3, which then takes us up to A for Alpha from D, our initial starting letters. So that then gives us the word Ima, which may perhaps be the phrasal name that Daijio Otto will now respond to us with. And as it happens, she doesn't blank us this time in DMs and informs us that she doesn't talk to just anyone off the street, and that she'll only chat to people who know her real name and not her stage name, as she's a performer, and that she won't chat to us anymore as she's now preparing for a show with her fellow performers. So now we need to go through our bot AI list again and ask all of them in DMs what is her real name in case one of them does know it. And as it happens, we get 2 leads that are very promising. The first is from Togashi, who informs us that there is a guy by the name of Okabe who is the only person that she kind of seems to be close with Takeda following up as well by stating that Okabe is a musician but used to be a feared Ronin, so we can't kind of intimidate him in DMs. However, he is very susceptible to flattery, apparently, so you kind of guessed it here. We need to go back to our AI bot list again and look for a musician named Okabe, who is indeed there, and we can now break the ice by complimenting him on his musical talent. And as it happens, that is the right thing to do, as we've got ourselves another lead, as he says that even though he won't say her name directly to us, he does mention that her kanji name has the bitter radical on the bottom and the ten radical on the top. Now, if you didn't know, kanji is the logographic Chinese characters adapted from the Chinese script that are used in the writings of Japanese, where there are 240 kanji radicals, which are kind of the building blocks of the language, or that's my understanding anyway. So with that in mind, the 10 radical on top is this cross symbol, which signifies the number 10, and the bitter radical on the bottom is this symbol, which means bitter or spicy in Japanese kanji. Now, if we go ahead and put these kanji symbols on top of one another, we get this new symbol in kanji, which means happiness, which is a super cool thing. I didn't actually know this is what happens in Japanese writing, but in Japanese kanji specifically, this symbol is actually called Sachi, which may just happen to be Deijio's real name, which our very own Nika in our own Discord managed to figure out first in the community, so great work from her. Now, after replying to Deijio with her real name, that being Sachi, which we've just figured out, she then gives us another clue, which is a origami task. But don't worry, I have already done this myself for you, and I will be honest, origami is not my forte, as I had to remake this 3 times, as you can kind of see here. But after following the instructions to the T, I finally got there in the end, where I made this samurai helmet with specific numbers and letters in the inside and outside of the helmet. Now, on the front, from top to bottom, the letters read TH, E7, TH, ignoring the kind of overlapped letters there because they're not supposed to show. And again, I suck at origami, but that kind of spells out the word the 7th if we put it in a row, as you can see here. Now, as for the inside of the helmet, we can see the letters ON, TH, EB, OX, which then reads on the box. So if we then combine both inside and outside phrases together, we then get the phrase the 7th on the box. Now, we're then informed that this is something we need to hang on to for the box phase, which we'll get to shortly, as it answers the who question regarding the specific assassination targets that we're after. But we're still in phase 1 right now, and we are working towards unearthing information about the location now of our targets and the weapons that we will be using to assassinate them. And that's when Komatsu gives us another clue, where he states that we'll need to translate these Romanji hand gestures, which is a system for transcribing Japanese words into the Latin alphabet. Now, the first hand sign is what is called retsu, the second is to, and the third is zei or zai. Excuse the pronunciation throughout this whole video, by the way. Now, the way this works is that if there's 2 hand signs, we would then keep the second letter of the word. In this case, 2 retsus means E for echo here, and for our 1 toe hand sign, that means that we need to keep the first letter of that hand gesture, which is T for tango. And a double zai hand sign means that we want to, again, keep the second letter of this gesture, which is A, which then brings us on to the word, or completes the word, gives us the word etta, which is a name that refers to beggars in medieval Japan back in the day. And big shout out to Mason in the community for being the first person to figure this out, which was super impressive. I thought that was very, very difficult. So anyway, we can now head back to Komatsu's DMs and give him the answer to the riddle, who then tells us that we should go and chat to the AI bot beggars to then find out if they've heard anything about the locations of these targets in the streets. Now, these 2 beggars only reply, of course, in Japanese proverbs, and the 2 proverbs that we want are a man like fresh split bamboo from Kakizaki, and to dig roots and leaves from Takuda, which is their English translation, by the way. And the reason why we want to provide Komatsu with these 2 proverbs and not the dozen other ones that they actually DM us with is because they are the only two that actually share a common point, that being about plants, leaves, and Japanese foliage. And another big shout out to Running Tigress in the community here for being the first person to find this common point between all of these proverbs and submit it to Komatsu before anyone else. So very good work. Now this clue is the location that we'll need to use in phase 2 for the box to find out where the targets are. But for now, we have 2 out of the 3 clues, and we just need to know how and what weapon that we'll be using to assassinate them with. So let's head back to Komatsu now and see what else he has for us, as he goes on to say that he's got 5 options of weapons that we can choose from to assassinate our targets, but we need to tell him what each weapon is first before we can actually decide how to kill them. The first one being a blade that is specialized at close range, so that is a tanto. The second is an emergency sword, which is used when a katana is lost in battle, and that is called a wakizashi. And the third weapon is compact and comprises of a chain and sickle, which is called a kusirigama. The fourth is a 24-inch versatile blade, which is of course a katana. And the fifth is a accurate throwable weapon that delivers small cuts to the enemy, which is a shuriken. And shout out to Jasmina-san for being the first person to answer that question correctly during this community event. Now let's go back to Komatsu again, and he tells us after we give him these answers that we'll need to locate a blacksmith because the samurai target that we're after wears incredibly durable armor, which will be very hard to penetrate. So we need to find the blacksmith who made it, so we can choose which weapon that would be best to use against this samurai enemy effectively. And wouldn't you know, there happens to be a weapon merchant in the AI bot list called Okumaru, who may be able to help us here. Now, after speaking to him in DMs, he informs us that he's in debt after borrowing 700 mons, which is coins essentially, or currency, and he can't pay it back as there's a 3% interest charge by his lenders. And he also needs to buy 5 kilograms of miso and 20 kilograms of rice. So we need to go and chat to all of the other AI bot merchants and find out how much it will cost to buy all of the goods that he needs, which as it happens comes in at 620 mons. So the quick math calculation here is 700 mons to pay off his debt, plus the 3% interest to that, and the 620 mons for the goods that he needs, which equals 1,341 mons to pay off all of his debt, and is how much we need to pay him for his blacksmith armor information. Now, instead of him just giving us a direct answer on the location of this blacksmith, because that would of course be too easy, he gives us the third clue we need on this first phase, which is you can't chase away the fog with a fan, but you should try and mask it with your veteran master's opaque box and search the Yamato province. And great work from our community mathematician Levin for being the first person to figure this third clue section out. So top work. Now we need to head back to Komatsu, and he tells us that we've completed phase 1 and we have all 3 clues needed to progress into phase 2. But to complete phase 2, we need the veteran masters who were sent the lockboxes by Ubisoft in the post, and I was one of the lucky 70 to get one, as I kind of mentioned and showed you earlier. So before we crack it open, let's quickly recap. We have our first clue, which will identify the names of our 2 targets. We also have our second clue, which will locate where our targets are currently hiding in Japan, and we have our third clue, which will help us understand what weapon would be best used to kill them both and successfully complete our assassination mission. So that's phase 1 done, and before we move on to phase 2, if you are enjoying this video so far, please do leave a very quick like down below. I would really appreciate it. I'm also running an Assassin's Creed Shadows game giveaway. You just need to be a subscriber of the channel to enter, and I will pop that link down below in the pinned comments, so very best of luck to you. Now, phase 2, or day 2, this started for me when I received the box in the post from Ubisoft, and on top of the box inside the packaging was a QR code, which then invited me to a new secret channel in the Discord where Komatsu is based. But before he would talk to me, I had to give him the Anatsu password, which was in the bottom left-hand corner of that QR piece of paper, as you can see here. And then we are off to the races, as he then proceeded to provide me with a poem, which I will pop on your screen right now. But to be honest with you, it didn't actually really do much for me, as I believe it was kind of intended to help assist me in unlocking this void lock padlock on the front of the box, which it definitely did not do. It actually didn't take me too long to get through it, with Komatsu providing an additional hint on the correct lock movements I needed to make to then get it to unlock. But as you can see here on stream, we got through it fairly swiftly and opened up the lockbox. Now, before we start dismantling all of these clues individually, I just want to show you what's actually inside it, so you straight up know. Firstly, we have a bloody letter, followed by a map of Japan with certain locations covered in fog. Thirdly, we have a scroll with congratulations written on it, which is referencing us successfully getting into the lockbox. And finally, we have some concept art of Naoe's hidden blade that turns into a Tanto dagger. But let's return to Komatsu's DMs and ask him what's next, where he goes on to ask us about the first clue that Sachi gave us in phase 1, if you remember, that of course being the phrase the 7th of the box from the origami puzzle that I had to kind of make 3 times in a row. So what I did on stream is type that answer in a reply to Komatsu, who then replied saying that he needs a further password in order to gain further intel about the targets from Sachi's samurai friend. Now, this is a prompt for us to then go and look at the box specifically, as on the back of it, there are 6 Kanji symbols, which are Bushido values that are followed by samurai, which I will pop up on your screen right now. And from left to right, we have courage, honor, respect, duty, integrity, compassion. But we are, of course, missing the 7th, which is Makoto, which means honesty. And thanks to Ralph and Actually Hack, who helped me with this one on stream. Now, Komatsu says that the letter in the box was sent by his samurai informant, with the target's names being hidden in plain sight. So thanks again to Pedder, who suggested this in the stream as well, because the bloodstains actually respond to body heat from your hands when you actually press down on the bloodstains themselves for a few seconds, and those hidden letters will then appear on it, which was kind of super cool to experience. So let's actually take a look at this letter fully written out and highlight those letters which were then hidden under the blood. The first line begins with, life is a candlelight before the wind, plath a stealthy path, T execute to his, Bellacret plan efficiently, track your enemies, assassinate the no 2 targets, who were they, it's up to you to find them, don't forget that the lie for Dina away when you Gaio rub it, it is not real blood. So obviously a lot of purposefully hidden grammatical errors here, but if I just go ahead and just show the hidden red blood letters from this letter and then reorder them sequentially as they appeared, we get the word the 2 below Nobunaga, which is very interesting indeed. So following up again with Komatsu on this, he says that his samurai informant has now provided to him an official list of names, and let's zoom in on that list now, where bang in the middle of it is Oda Nobunaga, but it's not him we're after, because it's the 2 below Nobunaga, as referenced from that blood letter, who we're interested in, with the first one being Fujioka and the second one being Lord Hayashi. And big thanks again to Ralph with his help on this on stream, because as confirmed by Komatsu, we now have the names of our 2 targets, so we can tick the who question off our list. But we're still after the location of where these 2 are hiding in Japan and what weapon we're going to kill them with. So let's get back in contact with Komatsu and see if he's got any further leads for us, which of course he does, as he goes on to say that he's been in contact with the beggars and he thinks that those proverbs that they told us yesterday or in phase 1 are actually the location of the target. So this is where we need to get those 2 proverbs that we managed to obtain from phase 1 about the leaves and foliage, that being Take Owata Yuna Hito and Nihori Hayori. And again, big thanks to Amir and Jabakin for helping me remind me on stream what those phrases were, which were the right answers that we needed to give Komatsu, who then tells us that to find the location of these targets, we need to look at the makimono, which is a Japanese word to describe a scroll, which of course we had inside our lockbox, which is the paper with the congratulations on it, which I mentioned earlier. And this took me a little while to figure out on stream, to be honest with you, but at the edges of the scroll, there are some nice illustrations of bamboo and foliage, which matches up with those proverbs. It kind of seems obvious now, but it wasn't at the time, because there's a line on it to kind of indicate that we need to slightly bend the paper. And when you do, you can actually see the word Nagato, which is the word that we need to provide to Komatsu. And he informs us that Nagato is the name of Naoe's father, and says that we need to go back to both beggars and mention Fujibayashi Nagato specifically. Incidentally, we have already seen him showcased in the CGI trailer, by the way, so we do know what he looks like already, and he was a real historic character and leader of the Iga ninjas in medieval Japan, just in case you didn't know, so he's obviously going to be playing an important role in this game. Now, both beggars reply with information about the targets that we're after, the 2 of them, I mean, moving across Japan, from the Ikumo mine to the Sotomo Arch, as well as from Takeda Takeda Castle to the residence of Oda Nobunaga, which is when this gets super spicy and where we need to get our map out here, because I'm going to zoom in on it for you here, where we have Takeda Castle, the Ikunu Mine, Sotomo Arch, and the Azuchi Castle, which was the residence of Oda Nobunaga back in the day. Now, if we draw lines from point A to point B on where each beggar saw each individual patrol leaving from and then heading towards, we get this nice cross section here, which means that these two targets have crossed paths at some point in their travels, and that is the location that we are specifically interested here in this kind of Assassin's Creed Cluedo quiz. In fact, Komatsu gives us a hint by saying that we should use a tool called Google Maps. So of course I have that here for you as well, and I have marked all the locations on Google Maps, which are all real places in Japan and on this map in the lockbox, by the way, which is pretty cool, and presumably what we will be able to visit in game. Now, that same intersection falls on a location called Fukuchiyama, and big thanks to Tarek, Nika, and Descartes for helping me get the right city here, as Komatsu is thrilled that we now have 2 clues complete, that being the names of both targets, but also the location of where they've now gone into hiding, which is Fukuchiyama. But that still leaves a final clue that we need to uncover in this phase 2, which is what weapons or how is the best way to assassinate these 2 targets. So let's head back to Komatsu and see if he's got further leads on this final piece of the puzzle, which of course he does again, as he says that we need to find the blacksmith who created the corrupted samurai's armor, so we can then smash through it and assassinate him. This is, of course, the time where we need to use that third riddle clue from phase 1, where we chatted to the weapons merchant, and take another look at that map in the box, because the riddle tells us to mask the fog with the veteran master's opaque box and search the Yamato province. And upon further inspection of the map, you can just about see some intentional corner marks which kind of look out of place on this whole map illustration, and I will just zoom in here to show you what I mean. That, of course, looking like a very nice place to pop our box on, which does fit perfectly. But what's even cooler is the corner of the box is pointing to a specific location in the Yamato province, which is the town of Yoshino, as you can see here, which I was very pleased to find on stream, which kind of caught me off guard. I just thought it was a cool experience, which I will replay for you now.
Please be right, please be right, please be right, please be right, please be right. Yes! Well done, chat. Well done, chat.
And I'm just going to cut myself off there and get back to Komatsu, who tells us that the blacksmith in Yoshino says that Yasuke's katana will be the perfect weapon to cut through the target's samurai armor, but that for this assassination to be successful, we need one more additional bit of information, and that is, what is the perfect time of day to strike them and complete our mission? Well, he gives us one more clue, which is their blades are aimed at the truth, which can only mean that the answer is hidden in the hidden blade concept art page, which is the only thing that we haven't investigated that was inside of the lockbox. And another big shout out to Ralph. He was absolutely smashing it in our stream here, because he said that the hidden blades are pointing to specific and individual symbols on this concept art piece of paper, which I will zoom in here for you, and circles so you know what he was kind of talking about. Because what's interesting is if we take every single symbol that each hidden blade was pointing to and put them in order like this, if my Photoshop and editing skills are up to it, we get this cool looking pattern. But what's even cooler is if we take the hidden blade and cut through each symbol, halving them essentially, we then get a legible word, which is light, as you can see here. So we now have 2 targets who are called Fujioko, the samurai, and Lord Hayashi, the daimyo, and they are hiding in the town of Fukuchiyama, and we'll need to use Yasuke's katana to easily cut through Fujioko's samurai armor, which will only be successful if we attack them both in daylight, as they will be together. And what is awesome about all of this is we're going to see actual gameplay of this whole story, or this assassination black box mission, unfold at Ubisoft Forward on June the 10th, which is how Komatsu signs off on this puzzle, but not until he gives us a sneak peek at some new and exclusive concept art from the Ubisoft team, which I'll pop up on your screen right now as an additional reward for us completing this. And credit where credit is due, this was a super awesome experience, and I don't see any other studio engaging their fan base or community like this in the run-up to the release of one of their games. So props to Ubisoft, and shout out to Matthias Ferreira, who created this for us. It must have taken absolutely ages to make, just like this video actually. So do make sure you like, subscribe for more stuff just like this, and check this other Assassin's Creed Japan's video I've made for you, which should be on your screen right now. So give that a click. I think you will enjoy it. Thanks to Sylvia at the Ubisoft UK team. Thanks to you for stopping by, and see you in that next video in just a moment. And of course, coffee is on me.